Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys making some time to check the video out. I know that everybody's really busy and they don't have a lot of time to watch these YouTube videos, so thanks for joining me today. Guys, today we're going to be talking about the most important technique that you need to master in fishing. There is one technique that everybody's got to learn. If you're going to be successful over the long term, you've got to master this, and we're going to get into it, going to give you guys some tips and advice on it. So I think it's going to help everybody out in the long run. And before we get started, guys, I just want to invite everybody, if you haven't had a chance, to maybe consider becoming a channel member here of Intuitive Angling. It's a really good way to help the channel out. If you like what I put out here, channel members, they get extra videos every week the public can't see, access to my personal email address for your fishing questions. And you can become a channel member by going to my YouTube homepage, click the join button for information. So much appreciated. Check that out. Okay, guys, one of the things I'm going to start out saying right off the bat, you can believe me or not, but it's going to be a reality eventually. The only difference between, the only variable is how long this is going to take. Forward-facing sonar and that type of technology is going to be limited sometime in the future. It's going to be, whether it's a partial ban or a ban or conservation departments intervene, I'm not sure what that looks like at this point. But its days are numbered, simply because it's too big of a threat to the sustainability of our fisheries. And given that, everybody out there that is becoming more reliant upon technology, they're going to have a terrible time adjusting to the reality of real bass fishing. And what I want to do is I want to address maybe to some of those people, if they're watching this video, and some of you guys out there that do prefer to fish with real bass fishing techniques. The technique that you have got to master is flipping and pitching. And it's not that simple. Guys, believe me, flipping and pitching is an art form and a science and a philosophy, probably more complicated than about any technique out there, including any type of electronic technology. Electronic technology fishing, forward-facing sonar, that's kindergarten stuff. When you start to get into the realm of having to be stealthy and be intimate with the fish like you have to when you're pitching and flipping, it requires a completely different level of skill. So from that standpoint, I'm going to say right off the bat that I think that the forward-facing sonar and all that type of stuff takes the least amount of skill as an angler, and flipping and pitching takes the most amount of skill and mastery. Now, here's the thing that you've got to understand about flipping and pitching is it is a technique that goes well beyond what a lot of people think it does, because when you're dealing with flipping and pitching fish, you're closer to the fish than any other technique out there. And when you're close to the fish like that, anywhere between 10 to 30 foot away from your target most of the time, you have got to be beyond stealthy in order to generate strikes consistently from flipping and pitching. And therefore, just on the basic level, just the being quiet and knowing how to manipulate and move a trolling motor in relationship to wind and currents and sunlight angles, and knowing when to get off that trolling motor and when to accelerate, knowing the exact glide rate that your boat comes in on a piece of cover so you don't come in too hot or too slow to that cover. When you deal with fish that's that close, the variables of getting you into position to even make a cast before you make a cast is more complex than most other techniques. They are involved completely. So once you do get yourself in position with that, I'm going to do a video on my other channel, Advanced Bass Fishing, on this, an hour-long video, but this is sort of a foundation. But once you do get close to that quarry where your target is like that, then you have to master the art form of accuracy, because in flipping and pitching, if you miss your target maybe by an inch, a lot of times you'll never get a bite. So from that standpoint, that's in addition to the art form of boat positioning and boat maneuvering, you also have to become a master of the technique of flipping and pitching. And the technique of straight flipping versus pitching is completely different. The motions are different, the rhythm and the cadence is completely different. So that requires years of study and toolage and practice to get to that point. And then once you master the technique of boat control and flipping and pitching, then you have to understand baits that generate the strike. Baits profile, bait size, bait color, the hook size, the weight size, the rate of fall in relationship to the water visibility and the water clarity and the mood and personality of fish. All that has to come into correlation along with the line size, which also causes the bait to fall faster and slower. So you got all the bait variables with that, along with the equipment variables of the feel and length and the action of a rod, speed or retrieve on the reel ratio, which affects your cadence and action. And then finally, you have got to understand the philosophy of actually how fish position within that structure. And that fish positioning within the structure, it depends on the species of the fish, it depends on the complexity of the cover, it depends on the makeup of the cover, it depends on the current, it depends on the wind, it depends on the sunlight angle, it depends on the barometric pressure, it depends on frontal systems, whether you have a south wind, north wind, east wind, or west wind, just to name a few. There's a lot more with that. So as you can see, right off the bat, you have got boat positioning and angles to deal with. You've got casting mastery. You've got bait selection. You've got weather patterns and conditions. All this has got to come together perfect before you can actually generate strikes consistently with that. Excuse me. And the reason this is so important to master this technique is there always is going to be bass living around shallow cover where you can pitch and flip. Bass are ambush predators most of the time, except for the open water fish that need to be out there left alone. Make no mistake about it, guys. Those roaming offshore fish need a sanctuary to not be jacked with. But the shallow water cover that the majority of the shallow water fish live around is never going to change. There's always going to be some fish with that. And on top of that, you can't discount the fact about how exciting it is to catch a fish flipping and pitching, simply because you're closer to the quarry. You've had to put in a lot of effort and work to actually generate the strike. The bite itself is exciting. The fight a lot of time is exciting depending upon how thick the cover is. So main thing, guys, that I want to cover in this video is take some time to learn how to master to pitch and flip. And it's not just as simple as getting out there in the yard and trying to hit a can a couple times. It is a lifelong pursuit to become a good flipper and pitcher. And I've had a chance to be instructed by the masters of this technique 40 years ago. I've tried to master it and develop my own technique and philosophy with it. And every tournament that I have ever won in my life, whether it be Bassmaster tournament, regional tournaments, whatever, a lot of my top tens, every one of them except for just a handful have come flipping and pitching. It's a great way to catch quality fish, satisfying way to fish. But anyway, guys, you need to pick it up. Like I said, don't get sucked into all the offshore electronic fishing. It's going to go away eventually. And then you're going to have to resort to the real styles of bass fishing. So might as well get prepared for that now. So hope you guys are doing good. We'll talk later.